In this video, we are going to take a Google Slides document and turn it into a basic Nearpod interactive lesson. You can create Nearpod lessons directly through their site, but I find it easier to use the Google Slides with the Nearpod add-on. I usually have a lesson that I have already created, and then I convert that into a Nearpod lesson. So I just have a fourth grade number talk document. With the first few slides, I do not need them to be interactive. Students just need to be able to see them. But for the last three slides, I would like students to be able to interact with it. So if you haven't already downloaded the Nearpod add-on, you can do a Google search, just Nearpod add-on, and download that. And then it will be an option in Google Slides. So I'm going to go to add-ons, Nearpod, open Nearpod, and it will open a panel on the right side of your screen. So I'm going to select my first slide that I want to be interactive. And there are so many great features in Nearpod. I really recommend exploring and testing them out. I'm just going to use Draw It today. So I'm going to have my selected slide and click Convert to Draw It. And what this does is it makes a copy of the selected slide and adds the Draw It tool on top of it. If you will be using this Google Slides again and need to modify it, I recommend making a copy of the whole document. It will keep your add-on features, your Nearpod add-on features intact, but that way you don't have to recreate the original slides. I don't need my original slides, so I'm going to make sure to delete the original slide and keep my now Nearpod slide, Nearpod Interactive. That way the students don't see duplicates of the slide and only see the interactive copy of the slide. So I'm going to do the same thing with the second slide where students are asked to show their thinking. I'm going to convert to Draw It. It takes a couple of seconds. And once that has been converted, I can see here my original slide, the converted interactive Draw It slide. I will delete my original and do the same thing for my last slide. I want students to be able to write, type, or draw on the slide and show many different ways to make the number 48. Once you have all of the Nearpod features added on, I have 3 non-interactive slides and now 3 interactive slides. Whoops, let me delete that original. Then you can go back into the Nearpod panel and click Save and go to Nearpod. And it now converts your Google Slides document into a Nearpod activity. You can see right here that it's loading. Once it's loaded, you can use that lesson to create a student-paced lesson. That would be great for asynchronous or for independent work, and students can click through the slides on their own pace. I'll show you an example. So now I'm taking this lesson and turning it into a student-paced document. If you click right here, you will get a copy of the link. This would be the link you post in your Google Classroom or drop in the chat during your Zoom meeting. And let's take a look at what that student lesson looks like. The really nice thing about Nearpod is students don't have to log in with any kind of username or password. They simply type their name and you have data on that student. So here's a non-interactive slide. Students can click through at their own pace. I use this as a live lesson, which I will show you in a second. And I paused on this slide and asked all students to solve the problem. And once they were ready, we went to the next slide. So on this slide, I can use my pen features and show my thinking. I could use a text box and type in my thinking. I can even insert a picture of my work that I did on a whiteboard or paper. Once I'm done, I click Submit, and it pushes you over to the next slide. Same thing, they can use all of their tools here. and on the last slide as well. And it does allow students to move on to the next slide without hitting submit. So just remind students to click submit. You'll still get the work and their thinking collected on the Nearpod, but if you're in the live lesson, you won't be able to push out or share students' thinking if they have not submitted yet. So that's the student paced. You also have the option to do live participation. This is great for synchronous learning. So now I'm taking that lesson and creating a live participation. Again, here's the link that you would share with students for them to join your lesson. And now when students have this Nearpod link opened on their screen, they will see exactly what I see. One really nice feature is it tells you exactly how many participants are on that current live lesson. So I could see students' names populating as they join my lesson. And I would also know who wasn't on yet. When you click next to go to the next slide, it takes all of the students to the same slide. So everyone would be looking at the same slide. This is a nice feature if you don't want students to move ahead. So right here, I wanted everyone to solve this problem mentally. And once I had thumbs up from all or most of my students, then I would push everyone over to the next slide. Right now, you just see one slide because there's no participants in this lesson. But once students are in here, you would see a very large grid with a bunch of these little boxes. And you could see in the moment what students were typing or writing on their slide, which is nice. There's also the option down here to hide student names. So if you want to share some work, but you want it to be anonymous, you can hide the names or show the names. Once students submit, this bar down here turns green. So you can see who hasn't started that slide, who's currently working on it, and who has submitted. Same thing with the next 3 slides. I will go back and show you. You can always come back and resume the lesson if you needed to. I think the lessons typically last for 30 days once you generate that link from here. So if I wanted to use this again 2 months from now, I would just have to come to this lesson and generate a new link. If you click the 3 dots for the lesson and click reports, it will give you the data from the lesson. So of course, right now in this lesson, no one really participated. Maybe that one, okay, so we participated. So we have one participant. If you click on draw it, this is a little bit hidden. You can see the 3 slides and we could see exactly what students did on each slide. So this is what I did on that first slide, and you would have all of your students listed here. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to view as a PDF, so you could download your report as a PDF, and you could also share it with your co-teacher or student teacher. So those are the basics of how to take a Google Slides document, use the Nearpod add-on to create a Nearpod lesson.